welcome to the Island Lamb. I'm Diane, and this is episode 23. So, welcome back, all the viewers who have been following me since October. It's hard to believe I'm already at episode 23, and welcome to any new viewers. We have had the most interesting weather. I think I mentioned to you last time we had that week where we had a freeze. We had higher than normal temperatures. We had the wind, we had the rain. And I was going to wait till Memorial Day to plant my flowers and my window boxes and some of my herbs, and I did do that. We had an absolutely gorgeous Memorial Day weekend. Then I went to Florida to visit my uncle, and it was 80 plus degrees there, and then came back, and it's been in the 50s, and it's been gray, and it's been gloomy, and they keep saying we're going to have rain, and we are not getting the rain, though I think it is just starting to sprinkle outside right now. And when I look at the sky right now, it looks like an October sky. You know, that gray line, that dark, like a navy blue line on the horizon of the water, and then those big gray kind of ominous clouds. There's a couple of streaks of blue here and there, but it's really making me feel like October. And so I thought I would just take a minute to talk about my process of putting away my knits, because I was tempted to take some of them back out. But it's such a process that I didn't really want to do that. They're nice and clean and they're stored. So I have my my grandmother's beautiful cedar chest. And I've taken good care of it over the years. I kind of sand it a little bit each year inside. I vacuum it out. I grow lavender every year for the purpose of making little lavender sachets, which I tuck into my cedar chest, into my dresser drawers, in my closet, anywhere where I think we might have some visitors, some little, what do they call those, silverfish, or especially moths, right? We don't want moths. So what I do, what my process is, if there's wool or animal fiber, I will, especially if I've worn them. Now, if I didn't wear the piece and it's been kind of layered in with my lavender sachets, I'll just put it back in the cedar chest as is. But typically I wear a good percent of my knits. So I will wash them gently. It's kind of like a block. I'll put them in a, tepid water. I'll use my lavender scented wool wash, and then I will let them dry. And I'll fluff them up a little bit before I fold them after I dry them. I might put them on the mannequin just for a little bit, just so they're not flat. So then I fold them carefully. I don't fold them in, quarters. I try, some of them I will lay flat and then just fold them over once and put their sleeves inside. Some things I will layer one or two garments and then do that, fold them in half, and then put the sleeves in the front. So that gives me peace that I know those pieces are going to be probably fine. I have never had a problem. I don't want to start having a problem. So I think the lavender, the cedar chest, washing the piece, just a gentle soak in the lavender scented wash will take care of it. So so going back to my visit to Florida. So I went to visit my uncle in Florida because he was having a procedure. He was having some surgery done, and I will say he came through the surgery with flying colors. He ended up having 2 procedures. The second one he hadn't really counted on, so he has a longer recovery than he anticipated. However, he played bridge this week. He's gone up to the dining room and had lunches and dinners. I know he's feeling a little tired and wishes he were feeling better sooner, but I think he's doing remarkably well, and he is singing in the chorus. He's gotten back to rehearsals. He'll be performing in the Oklahoma production that Lake Seminole is putting on. So I want to just say thank you and a big shout out to the team of people who run Lake Seminole Square, which is the independent beautiful facility where my uncle lives, which is really like being on a cruise ship. And to Joey and Vicky and that gang who were at our disposal and helped us plan what kind of care we would need. And then also to the team at Innovative Home Services, which is a separate organization that has an office at Lake Seminole Square and is there to provide aids, 24-hour aids if you need them. And for those for that first week or so, we definitely took advantage of that. So I want to say thank you to Brianna and to Vicky for scheduling all the great care. And a special shout out to Dee, who my uncle loves Dee, and Dee is She is one of the aides and caregivers that my uncle has utilized in the past, and she's just a person, a great woman, and I thank you, Dee, for all the love and care you give to my uncle, and thank you to the whole team at Lake Seminole Square. So going from 80 degrees in Florida and then coming back to Rhode Island, and now being in the 50s, and when I say 50s, I'm going to say mid 50s, but we've had wind, and so when we have a 20 to 25 mile an hour wind, it's not 50 anymore. It feels like it's in the 40s. So this is a little piece, and I'm also showing you a picture of the pattern. This is a great piece. It's called the Everyday Wrap, and it's perfect for right now. I have kind of a 3/4 linen blouse on, but it wasn't enough, and I don't really want to turn my heat up, but I just couldn't even imagine wearing a sleeveless top yet. So I threw this on, and it is so warm and comfortable. So the Everyday Wrap was designed for Coco Knits by Julie Weisenberger. And this was the fabric, the yarn that was originally called for was the Rowan Kids Silk, and 2 skeins of that, 25-gram balls, which would be 229 yards. Now that could also be, I also like Valley Yarn, and I've used their Kid Mohair Silk, Kid Mohair Silk Blend. And however, on this piece, and I'm not sure if my mother made this one or I made this, we made a lot of these when this pattern first became available to us. I made these for gifts. I don't even have one for myself. I think Mom let me take this to show you. So I think she might have made this, but we used a yarn that was called, let's see, I know I jotted this down, Fame Trend Paget, Padjett yarn. It was a novelty yarn. And I would say to you, use whatever you want. This pattern calls for a size US 9, which is a 5.5 millimeter. You don't have to get this perfect. I mean, you could make this wider. You could make it longer. I think you could really play with your stash. But this is really, I like the sheerness, not sheerness, but it's a little sheer. You can see my hand through that. I think you would get that same feeling with the mohair. So it's basically a big rectangle, and it's the way you fold it over and seam it, and then you pick up stitches and you make this little ruffle. This has little sequins in it. This looks gorgeous on Mom, you can imagine, with these blues, but I'm very happy to have this on today. It's very warm, it's very comfortable. It would be perfect if you were going out to dinner and you don't know, is there going to be air conditioning? I would take this, if I was wearing a little sleeveless or a little cap sleeve top, I would take this with me. If you're sitting out around a fire pit at night, this would be perfect. So let's see, what does that bring us to now? So I said that was the Everyday Wrap by Julie Weisenberger. It was designed for Coco Knits. And yeah, I think it's just a perfect thing to add to your wardrobe. I'm going to make myself one because, like I said, I made this. I don't know who made this, if I made it for Mom or if she made it for herself, but I don't have one for myself. And I was thinking maybe something in, of course, I like my aquas, maybe something in a little aqua might be nice. Okay, so on the mannequin is another great spring summer knit. Now I made this last year, and I'm showing you a photo of me wearing this. I think I made it at the end of the summer thinking I would have it for this year. This is called the Inlet, and it's by Julie Turjorman. And Julie Turjorman is a designer and also designs for Valley Yarn at Webb's. So remember, Webb's is that big online and retail yarn shop in Massachusetts. They have their own brand of yarn called Valley Yarns. I use their yarn quite a bit. However, in this, I used the pattern, but I didn't use their yarn. So the pattern called for Leveret. Now, remember in episode 21, I was making that buttercup yellow, same situation, just a front and a back, but more of a cap sleeve eyelet top. And that pattern called for Leveret, and is that true? Did that call for Leveret? I used Leveret, and I loved that. And that is 70% Pima cotton and 30% linen. And in one of the other episodes, I made a mistake because I referred to it again when it was finished and when it was on the mannequin, and I said it was 100% cotton. So I apologize. That was my mistake. 70% Pima cotton, 30% linen, soft. So that's what this pattern called for. But what I used, I had it in my stash. It's CoBaSi, CoBaSi, and it's by HiKoo, HiKoo. And this is a combination of very soft combination of cotton, bamboo, silk, and a little elastic. And I love the color. I think it's perfect for this because it's really just, it's supposed to be boxy. And I think if I had used the lever, it would appear a little bit more boxy. But I think that little bit of bamboo and elastic gave it a little bit more of a shape, even though there is no waist shaping in here at all. It's made in 2 pieces. It's really, and they say this in the pattern, it's like a sampler, an eyelet sampler. So let's see, what else can I tell you? The pattern is charted and written, and I know some of you have asked me, like my the sweater I made for my husband, that fisherman knit, you asked me if that was charted and written. It was only charted, and I know not everyone likes the chart, so here's an opportunity. If you don't like a chart, it's also written out. Very easy to follow. However, I did notice, and ironically, I didn't notice when I was knitting it, so maybe the size I made was fine, but when I was looking it up again today, there was some errata for this pattern. And, you know, I didn't compare it to the old pattern, but the errata had to do with the cast on for the sleeves and for the setup rows for the sleeves. So I would just keep an eye on this if you decide to make it. It's very size inclusive. It goes from size, let's see, I made a note of this for you. Well, I thought it was this pattern, but maybe I'm wrong about the size. Oh, yeah, I think it was this one. Anyway, so the pattern calls for a US size 4, a 3.5 millimeter, and then a US 5 for the main body, which is a 3.75 millimeter. Fun to make. You could wear this alone, or you could also layer this. You could wear a white cotton blouse under this, or a little tee. I wore it quite a bit in the fall because we had a pretty warm fall. I haven't worn it yet this year, but I'm hoping to. I've worn it with white jeans. I think it would be nice, you know, now we're seeing those really nice linen, wide leg, flowy pants this year. So I think that would be a good, yeah, I know that this is pretty size exclusive. I think it goes up to 5. I think it starts off with a small, an extra small, and it goes up to a 5XL. So I think this is a great pattern for just about anybody. Okay, so what do I have on my needles right now? I am still working on the Rosemary Drysdale pattern that I showed you last episode. I'm using that beautiful mercerized Italian made cotton yarn that I bought when I was in Italy. This is the Rosemary Drysdale pattern called Leaves. I said it was called I Love to Make Waves. This pattern was part of a collection, a Tahki Stacy collection. And the whole collection was called I Love to Make Waves. And this pattern is called Leaves. And now you can kind of see that. I still see waves if you turn it this way. So I guess that's why it was in the collection. It's coming along. I've got both sleeves completed. And this morning I finished the back. And I think I've also showing you a photo of it. It's a little easier to see in the photo. But isn't that just gorgeous? It's fun to knit because you're intentionally dropping a stitch. So basically you're doing a 2x2 rib, and on one of the rows in the pattern, you're making one. And then you go several rows and you drop the one you made. And then you go several rows and you make one. And then you go several rows and you drop. And you're alternating where you're making and where you're dropping. So you can see this time it's in this rib and this time it's in this rib. And I've cut in for the sleeve. And so I just cast on for the front, which is exactly like the back. And so I'm hopefully I'm going to be wearing that soon. Okay, I know I showed you some acquisitions recently, and I didn't think I was going to be buying more yarn, but I did, because I got another email from Webb's telling me that they were reducing their already low-priced yarns. So I've done 2 things. My beautiful sister-in-law, Cindy, is a gem. She lives in the same house with my mom. And when my mom was here recently, she hurt her ankle. And she wasn't really able to get around that easily. And so my sister-in-law was right there for her, making her meals, bringing her meals, and making life really special for her. It was around the time of the coronation, and we had the Kentucky Derby. And I know there was something else going on at the time. And my sister-in-law made her special meals. She made her little cucumber tea, little sandwiches, and a special cocktail for the coronation. And then she made her another special meal for the Kentucky Derby. And I love to knit for her. And I made her a fisherman knit many years ago. And, you know, a busy household with lots of kids. And I think it maybe hit the wash. And that happens to all of us. I've done that myself. But she did ask me if I would make her a fisherman knit cardigan, similar to the one that I made for myself that I showed several episodes back in that beautiful dusty kind of denim color blue. My sister-in-law is a gorgeous auburn, reddish, long hair, jet black eyes, beautiful, beautiful skin tone, very, I would say autumn, wears all the autumn tones. And so I purchased her my tried and true Cascade 220 in heather. In the heather, you know, they do solid colors and heather colors. And this green is called heather, I think it's called heather olive. And I'll have to get that right in the show notes because I don't think it's on the tag. Yeah, but it's just a gorgeous, you see just a little fleck of kind of a lichen color in there, and there's a very little blue, kind of a green blue in there. And so in the fall, and maybe early fall, like maybe even August if it's not too humid, I'd like to start on this so that she could wear this in the winter. So that was one of my acquisitions. And then the other one is a yarn I had seen a while ago in a beautiful yarn shop that no longer exists in Westport, Massachusetts. I went with my cousin and we were checking it out and we both looked at this yarn and I let it go at the time. It's a Barocco yarn. It's called Providence, and Providence is the capital in Rhode Island. And this collection has a lot of names of Rhode Island. You know, Barocco will also do a lot in Massachusetts. We've seen that too. But this yarn is called Providence. It's 65% merino wool, 20 baby alpaca, and 15 silk. And it's got a lot going on. See this little bit of like a kind of a gray olive green? It's like a very dark charcoal navy, I think. There's a little bit of a powder blue. It is suggested a 4 to 6 inch US needle, and that would be a 3 to a 5 millimeter needle. And so, because I bought a sweater's worth of this, they sent me for free this little booklet. And this booklet is for this yarn. It's for Providence. And the sweater I'm going to make, and I'm going to show you some photos too, but this would be the back of it. It's called the Elmhurst. And I think it's going to just be a wardrobe staple. It's simple. It's a raglan. It's the neckline that I really love, front and back. And I think it's going to be great use of this yarn. And I think I'm just going to wear it all the time. I think you could wear this definitely in the fall, right through, you know, with white jeans, I think right into spring. And then of course, all winter long. So those are two more projects I have lined up happily. So also the last time we talked, I said in my next episode, I would catch you up on my gardening. But between my trip to Florida, I came back, I got everything planted Memorial Day weekend as planned. I got my window boxes planned, that whiskey barrel, I got my tomatoes and my basil and some marigolds in. I got my raised box filled with tarragon and onions and I don't even remember what else. And I got my impatiens into the secret garden, but they haven't grown all that much because of the crazy weather we've had. So, and I also wanted to give you a little tour of my secret garden. And that will be, all the wild roses that surround the secret garden will be in bloom in another couple of weeks. So I'm going to wait on that. So I think that's all I have for you today. I will hopefully see you in a couple of weeks, maybe 2 weeks. Like I said, when those roses are in bloom in that secret garden, it's an interesting little part of our yard. And I'll tell you more about it. And like I said, I'll take you for a tour on it when I see you next time. But it was just a neglected part of the yard when we first bought the house. It was a neglected part of the yard that had a big old burn barrel in the middle of it. And, you know, I understand the concept of burn barrels. People burn their brush when they, you know, trim their yards. And I have never been fond of a burn barrel personally. I don't care for the smell of the smoke. I worry about sparks. I just don't care for that. I don't even really love an open fire pit unless it's, you know, really a clear area. I like those little propane little fire pits. I find they're a little safer. But anyway, when my husband and I saw this area, we realized that we could pull that burn barrel out, fence it off because of the deer situation on the island. I don't have a lot of places where I can plant tender, you know, hostas. They love hostas. They eat just about everything. So we decided this would be a great area that we could fence in with some deer fencing and cultivate as a little secret garden, and we have. So hopefully next time I see you, I'll take you for a little tour of that. Take care, enjoy your spring and your spring knits, and I'll see you in a few weeks.